All right, here we go. Sitting here with Audrey Hutton, the Miss Audrey. How are you today, Audrey?
I'm doing really good. I got my coffee. I'm ready to talk mortgages. I'm pumped up.
Talked a little scripting, right? That's awesome. Well, I
Yeah,
met you, and how long ago did I meet you? I met you about 5 years ago, I would say, in Napa, if you remember. My wife and I, Danielle, we
yeah.
were there
I think
for.
it's been more than 5 years. I feel like,
Has it
yeah,
been?
yeah, we're getting old. It's been like seven, 8. I don't know.
It's going fast.
Yeah,
But the best part about it is it's really involved into this really great friendship. And actually, Audrey, I'm so grateful to have you as my role-playing partner because I really do value how you run your business, how you create relationships, the type of mom you are, the type of person you are. I mean, the list goes on. And so for us to meet, or at least attempt to every Tuesday morning to role play, bounce ideas off each other has
yeah.
really meant a lot to me. I really want to thank you for that.
Well, same here. No, seriously. I love our role play sessions. I think it's just always great, no matter where you're at with your business, just to have somebody that you can be vulnerable with,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yep.
nobody's perfect. We all fumble. We all have our moments of greatness. So
Right.
it's constantly kind of staying sharp and, bouncing ideas off of each other. I love it. And I'm very grateful for your friendship and your professionalism, both you and Danielle. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're going to talk a little bit about scripting before we even say the S word, right? The scripting word. It's like we look, our whole lives. Like if you're an athlete, I'm an athlete, so I have a lot of, analogies when it comes to sports. But I'm sure if you're not an athlete, you can come up with your own. But
I'm more of a poser athlete. Yes.
what's that?
That I'm more of a poser athlete.
Yeah, well, your son though is not though. So you know what it takes, right, for your son.
Athlete by association nowadays.
You are. Her son is a magnificent ball player,
Yeah,
and is a heart of gold. And but it's not like one day he showed up on the football field fully uniformed and was a great athlete.
right.
There's
Yeah.
so many things that people do, right, outside of the event to prepare for the football game. In fact, for football itself, it's like 3-4 weeks of double days and stuff like that just to rehearse the play to where it becomes automatic. But for some reason, when we do this in business, we just don't do that. We just kind of show up and we just wing it, and it rarely works. And that's why I think it's really important to have a role-playing partner and to treat your business kind of like a sports team.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to keep practicing. You can't ever assume that you're going to get too comfortable.
Right.
And then you have the surprises too. Like there's so many times where I've pulled up a call list where I'm like sweating, like I got my coffee, I'm like nervous, and I call and the realtor says yes. I'm like, oh, well, that was easy. Okay.
Totally.
You're gonna have those wins. You're gonna have those moments where even if you are the worst ever, it's all about the activity too. So I think that's something for people to keep in mind, is that if you don't call anybody, you're really not going to get any wins. You come suck really bad, but you're going to get somebody that says yes.
100%. I mean, that's a good point. So like I'm coaching a basketball team now, and Andre and I talk about this a lot. They weren't taking practice very seriously, but until they got their first game and they started really seeing where their weaknesses are, they weren't really willing to look at stuff. And I think going through those rounds of calls and really getting out there and being vulnerable and seeing where your successes are and your failures and your challenges are, at that point, that's when you're able to really start making an impact in your business.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about the S word, the scripting word. I think I want to recap this conversation we had before everybody came on. And Audrey goes, I don't script. It's like that script.
I was like, I don't consider myself good at scripting. Okay, we'll do this.
You're like, well, I'll wait, Paul. And for me, the word scripting was really like making me feel like I'm not being genuine to somebody, like trying to be somebody I'm not. And to be fake or to be kind of greedy and just trying to find ways to manipulate people. That's what I used to think the word scripting is.
Yeah.
Until I read this quote, and I can't remember it exactly. And I think it was from Jeremy Forcier, actually. He was talking about if you want to increase your business, you just have to have better conversations. That really impacted me. And I started really thinking about what it would look like to have better conversations. And I had to rewrite what the word scripting meant. I mean, to me, scripting means to have impactful, meaningful, value-added conversations with somebody.
Yeah.
You know, when in fact I really wasn't in my early career, and still not to the full extent. What do you think of that?
Oh, no,
Definitely.
absolutely. Because I think especially people that are first joining the business, you have to learn scripting because you're literally memorizing your job, right? Nobody knows loans. You're memorizing kind of these things, and the more experience that you get, you gain. And I
Right.
think scripting itself is important because it shows a lot of different styles,
Right.
and it gives you a different idea of how to say things that you just might not be comfortable with.
Right.
But we can all tell, like when we get telemarketer calls, when we get those calls, you can tell they're reading from a script when there's no emotion, there's no uniqueness to it. So I'm a big believer in practice the scripts, look at the scripts, ask anybody, hey, what's a typical response to this? How can you get somebody to say yes? But when you do it enough and you do it in your own authentic way. So it's kind of like taking a loan application, right? You could just read the loan application. Okay, how many kids do you have? Okay, how old are the kids? As
Right.
opposed to having a conversation like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I heard you guys are starting a family. And how old are your little ones? You know, adding some warmth and personality to it, as opposed to just the script.
Yeah.
And it takes practice to do that.
I love that warmth and personality, because I answer calls and you can tell when there's no warmth and personality behind it. It
Oh,
is
for sure.
absolutely like it goes nowhere with me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
We all
how do
have
you
those
think?
moments. Yeah, we all have those moments where it's like I think in our job, when we're customer facing, you got to be on all the time. And that's tiring, it's
Yeah.
very tiring depending on somebody's personality. If you guys are the type of person where you're on all the time, 24/7, kudos to you. I'm not one of those people. Yeah. And so I can tell where I have to get myself in that mental state where I'm calling a new lead and you got to, be super hyped up and everything. And I would say a lot of times it's organic and it's natural, but you get tired, right? And so you got to put yourself in that mindset. So mindset is super important.
Mindset
Mhm.
is important. But before we get to the mindset, let's talk about warmth. How do you come from a place of warmth and kindness that you were talking about? Because I think that's really
Yeah.
important.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think it's really easy to not anticipate the results of the conversation.
Yeah.
So, and when I say that, I mean that especially as lenders, we get rate shocked. We have the people that are like, oh, I got referred to 3 other lenders. Oh, I did this or that. So I know that there's some people that when they get on the line with a new lead, you're kind of already anticipating this probably won't go anywhere. I completely get that out of your mind.
Mhm.
The warmth is what separates, to me, it's the genuine concern. I don't care where we go or what we do. To feel unique, to feel cared for, to feel like somebody actually really, really does genuinely care, that wins people over. I'll give you an example. Just even
Please.
no matter where I go, no matter what I do, I try to find those things and implement them to my business. I went to a coffee shop this morning that I hadn't been in quite a while. And the barista actually went off to college and stuff like that. And I was in line and we saw each other. I haven't seen this kid for probably 3 years.
Yeah.
We both like squealed. We're like, oh my God, what are you doing here? What? Like,
Yeah.
and here he's this college kid. He made me feel so special that he remembered me. He comped my coffee. So this is like, hey, like I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that guy now because the way to buy
Yes.
coffee just made me feel so special. He could have just been like, oh, hey, you know so it's when we get those people on the line, adding that warmth of genuine, like, why did we get into this business? I think we all have a story as to why we got in.
Mhm.
I have a super passionate story as to why I got in, and I always remind myself that, look, we're not just dealing with another number, another client. It's like these people are facing the same things that I was facing when I got into the business, when I tried to buy my first home. So no matter who it is, when you kind of break that barrier down, when they kind of warm up to you because you're being warm, and that happens with me a lot, especially because I have a lot of techie clients. They're engineers. They're on to the next one, right? They don't want to form a relationship with me, but I kind of make them. I'm nosy. I'm like, no, talk to me. Like, what's going on? What's important to you about this? Like, what are your goals with this? How can this happen? So it's asking those deeper questions. That's not just like, great, I'll send you a link, fill out the link.
Fill
And
out the
it's like,
application. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like, and a lot of people are like that. They'll just be like, hey, fill out the stuff, get it back to me. Then you're just like every other lender. They might as well just go online. But
Totally.
if they can talk to somebody, they feel that you're a human being that really has genuine concern, they'll engage with you, they'll go deeper with you. And I would say that's how I get most of my business.
That's huge. I mean, I know this may not sound like this is important to scripting, but I think it's huge
It
because
is.
where you're coming from when you prepare a script that's what you want to call it, is, I mean, I think night and day. If you're coming from a position of, okay, I'm going to talk to this person, how can I get what I want from them? Or am I coming from a question or a position of, how can I help them get where they want to go? Those are going to be two different scripts, two different emotions, two different everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. Number one, I would love to hear, because I think this is also important. You said you had a, why did you get in the mortgage business? You brought that up. You had a really strong why.
Yeah, so I did everything fast forward. I was divorced very early, very young, and had a 1.5-year-old. And it was so important for me just to have a home base that I could raise my child. So I got into the industry as an assistant. I assisted 3 loan officers. When my kid was sick, he had a sleeping bag under the desk. Like, I was the best assistant ever. I'm like, where can I find me? I would like to hire me as an assistant. So yeah, it's just when you have that focus. And so I say it took me 3 years to save for my first little condo. It was the worst experience ever. I did a first time home buyer program and they didn't prep me for anything. But fortunately, being an assistant, and doing these programs for other people, I knew what to expect. But they had me coming in with $10,000 more than what anybody had ever talked about at the signing table. So I had to reject it, kind of talk with them, add a second. It was just the most stressful experience. So for me, I remember when I got my first place, I was 24 years old, everything finally closed. I had no money for furniture. I had like a blow up bed, but I was so happy. So my son was 4, and I was this young single mom just sitting in my condo that I'm like, I bought this, I earned this. And, we were there and built equity and used that equity to turn that into more future home purchases, and just really was the catapult for my wealth, to be honest. And so I practice what I preach. And, I'm able to share that experience with my clients to let them know, look, I know what it feels like to have a horrible loan experience. I know it from personal
For sure.
experience. I also know how important it is to get this home. And, I feel like and I've also been my own worst client. There was one house that I bought after that condo where I actually got denied by my own company that I worked for. I was pushing my debt to income ratio. I had a side business too that I, wrote everything off. And so just going through that experience of denial and having to dig and find somebody that would do that loan for me. I mean, I remember sitting in the car crying because that house was so important. We were going from a condo to a house. I have a large beast of a child who is 6'4", 250 pounds. Yeah, he was like that basically since he was 5 years old. So I had to get a house eventually. And it was important for me to do that and just to be able to host and have his friends over. And so it's like, to me, I am more on the emotional side when it comes to relating to people. And I think if I shared those experiences, it kind of helps them relate to me more and let them know, oh, wow, she's been through, kind of what we're going through. She's going to care. And that's my story.
I mean, that's a huge story. That's kind of what we were talking about. I mean, when you come from a place from there, when you're writing your scripts or you're writing, that process, it's a totally different outcome. Because what I'm hearing from you is that, you don't want anybody to experience your situation, that what you experience. And by the way, I can say this, I think it's 60 to 70% of loan officers are brand new. Most of them have never done a purchase before. And just to be trusting somebody outside of a team, the possibility of that happening is pretty big, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's kind of like us, even if you are super experienced, there's new loan programs that pop up all the time. And I've seen really experienced loan officers make huge mistakes. It honestly, like, if you're dedicated to this career and if you do your research, if you do everything that you're supposed to do, your clients are in good hands. It's kind of like what we see with realtors. There's realtors that are been in the business for 20, 25 years, and they get stagnant, some of them. They don't have the systems in place. And then you have a young and hungry realtor that's like, I'm so impressed with, like, they're on it. They care, they're jumping in. And then sometimes we have transactions with, other realtors that have been in it forever. I don't even hear from them the whole time. They don't return my calls. They don't even care if it closes or not. They're just like, they're old, they're seasoned. They're like, these problems pop up that they're like, it'll close eventually,
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I'm just like, no.
Well, that's, so, this reminds me of this thing, because one thing before we get into scripting, we really talked about the story a little bit without us really knowing, because we have to have a strong story the why we do stuff, right? Because asking for referrals and stuff like that can be really challenging, or it could not be. It really depends on where you're coming from. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But I also want to, just, to say to people that when you call people, this is something that took me a long time to really learn. When you call people, you owe it to them not to waste their time.
Yeah.
Right. So that's number one. And so, based off that, I don't know if you and I, Audrey, have ever talked about, because we never really had to, but one thing I've shared in the Loan Officer Academy is the perfect conversation. Now, by no means is it perfect, right? But it's a general guideline of how to have a conversation with somebody, add value. I actually got it from my sister. My sister was 15 years old. She's going to kill me for saying this, but I don't even care, because she beat me up when I was 16. She was talking to a guy on the phone, a brand new guy, and she had like a list of all these questions written out. So I walked in there, I'm like, why does she have a list of all these questions? And what I realized is when this conversation got stale with them, she would look at her piece of paper and just would fire off another question to get the conversation going.
Good for her.
Was that awesome? She's a natural saleswoman. She's amazing, right?
Yeah, that is really amazing.
And so that's what I look at when I think of scripting. It's questions, it's whatever it is to get a response, to get people to where that's going to be helpful to them. So let's start.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you ask for referrals. We can go. I think one of the things we should probably start with, and you were brilliant when you helped me tremendously on this, was on Monday, my Monday calls. Now, some people don't call their realtors Monday, some call them Tuesday, some call whatever day you connect with your realtors and you add value. Yeah. I always thought that I had to go, hey, Audrey, great talking with you. Do you have a buyer that you can refer me today? And I can never do that because it didn't feel genuine. Now, some people can, and that's wonderful. I'm sure it works, but for me, it did not work. Yeah. What are some of the things that you do when you're talking to your realtors? Because you have amazing relationships with your realtors. How do you ask for business, or do you ask that way?
It's interesting. For me, it depends on who it is, right? So I think in this type of market, I'm starting to reach out to realtors that I don't even know. And I've had the luxury of not having to do that for a really long time. So for me, I'm the type of person where, I don't like cold calling. I don't like it. So to put myself in the right mindset, if I know that I have a list of realtors that I'm going to be calling, I kind of do a little digging beforehand. So I think this is really crucial to kind of set yourself up mentally for that cold call. So I'll do some digging. I'll look them up on social media and I'll see if we have any mutual contacts. I'll maybe look at them and just to see kind of what they're into, what they got going on, kind of what their personality is a little bit. But most of the time there is some type of connection there, and sometimes there's not, but just, it helps me feel a little bit more comfortable. And I think the other thing, again, talking about mindset, is I know how I feel when people cold call me. And I'll be that kind of like, not rude person, but I'll be that person where I'm like, I'm busy, sorry, don't have time. So I think another thing that we had talked about is the persistence. So no matter what happens on the phone, you guys just have to keep in mind that it's all about persistence.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So when you get your mindset right, I would actually just make a couple easy phone calls first, because you don't want to be nervous. You don't want to have that first phone call be that big realtor that you don't know, and you're you're going to fumble on the first one. So if you need to call somebody else first, get the fumbling out of the way, get the nervousness out of the way. And then you're like, okay, all right, great. So call a realtor that's like out of your area. You don't care if they say yes or no. And if they say yes, hey, great. Then you got another realtor that you can cater to. But it's not something that you were planning on. It kind of gets it out of the way. So those are just
like a pregame, right? Warm up.
It's a pregame.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Got a pregame, got to be comfortable. It's like just how you open it up with athletes. It's like there's no athlete that just jumps on the field ready to go. Everybody has a warm up. Everybody's got a process that they follow to get ready to be your best. So there was a coach that I had a long time ago. They had a power song. They were like, okay, here's my song. I play this song every time to get in the mood. And I really liked that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I was like, let me get my like dirty gangster rap ready to go. I got to get my Cardi B, my song and I'm gonna play that and then I'm gonna like make my calls. So just silly little stuff like that. But I think it's important to have fun with it.
Okay.
And just know you have to also track. So let's say if you're going to call 50 people, you might just get one person that says yes. And that might sound defeating, but now you know, okay, my capture rates, you know, if I call 50 people, one will say yes. So I think it is important to track that. So now we have the pregame set up. When you're actually calling these people, and I know Paul and I have role played, I'm kind of the goofy one, right? I'm not serious at all. I feel like Paul's very good at being straight to the point. And he's just like, you know, hey, I'm a local lender in here. I do a lot of business. You do a lot of business.
Yeah.
I would love to meet you and let's see how this, you know, goes. We can bring value to relationship. And, you know, that's something that after a little bit of scripting we came up with, like just be straight to the point.
Yep.
So for me, I'm a little bit goofy. I look them up. I see if we have mutual contacts. So I would call and just say, hey.
Let's say if you had a mutual contact, would you reach out to that mutual contact first and try to get a warm introduction? No? Okay.
Not necessarily. If I'm just calling real quick and I'm blasting through my list, I would just say, hey, Paul, like I noticed that you know Susie, she's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I've always asked Susie if she ever knows an awesome realtor, you know, that works like her or that she knows that she could introduce me to. So I noticed we have a mutual contact. I would love to chat with you. Can I meet you for coffee next week for 15 minutes? You know, so it's just by name dropping. Name dropping is really huge because otherwise it would take too long, right? So asking other people to introduce you should just be part of your normal flow. Like every realtor that I have, I do ask pretty often, like, hey, if there's another realtor, like every event that I have, right? I have a happy hour coming up on Thursday.
Right.
I'm inviting them to my event, but I'm also asking them, hey, if there's a realtor that you know that would work great with me, bring them. I would love to meet them. So that's kind of a passive way to get new people in your sphere.
Right.
And, you know, I think it all just comes down to we're going to do business with people that bring us value or that we like. So we have to either bring value or you have to get them to like you and just be yourself. And you want to work with people that you mesh well. So, and I would also just say when you're talking with these people, if they're a jerk and, you know, there's some people that are politely brush you off, you know, and I'm one of those people. I will politely brush people off, you know, when I get calls from title reps or insurance companies. But if they're persistent with me, I'm like, oh, you know what? They're organized. They keep reaching out to me. It's almost like a test. I will test people. Are they going to keep calling me or do they take the rejection? So because I am observant of my own behavior, even if I suck on the call, you know, and I'm just like, do you want to have coffee with me? No. Okay. I'm going to call you next week and see if that works. I'm going to add you to my email list. Just let me know if something, you know, of course we've all had awkward moments. And I'm telling you guys, I've got business from being so awkward.
Me too. I have too. And you know, I think it's true though, Audrey, because like when I value people that work hard, 100%.
Yes.
I value people. I would never, if somebody called me and they kept calling me and really just like was persistent, there's a part of me because that's who I am, that I would really connect with that. And I would I would honor that. I'd be like, all right, man, you know, eventually I would say, okay.
Yeah.
And in fact, I probably would never meet with somebody if they just called me once.
Oh, never. And that's the main thing.
Right.
Yeah. You have to be persistent. And, you know, I would say a couple of other things, even when we've role played, when you talk about yourself first, nobody wants to hear about us.
No one cares. Right.
Don't ever call and say, hey, I wouldn't even say I'm a loan officer. The minute that you start saying like, hey, I'm a loan officer and I have programs and I can do this and I can do that.
No one cares.
You.
Right.
Literally, especially realtors, you want to call and just say, hey, I heard about you because you're a top producer, or I found you online because you had great reviews. I'm super impressed. I'm a local loan officer. I would love to meet you and see how I can support you. Boom. That is a simple script that realtors are either going to say yes or they're going to say no to. If they say no, like, oh, well, thanks for the call, I'm too busy. No problem. It sounds like you might need help with time management. You know, I'm really good with teaching my realtors how to manage their time so they can fit more things in. I would love to meet up with you. Instead of 15 minutes, let's just make it 10, you know, 10 quick minutes. I'll bring you your favorite coffee and I can show you some time blocking things. Would that be valuable to you? You know, oh, you know, it's kind of like they can't really say anything about that because you're supporting them with the fact that they don't have time to meet with you. And if they really blow you off again, they're like, nope, I'm not really interested. Like,
Right.
thanks for the call. Yeah, no problem. I know that you probably have your lenders situated. You know, I don't mind working really hard to build a relationship with you. How about this? I'm going to stop by your office next week anyways with your favorite coffee, just to drop it off, just so I can shake your hand, meet you face to face, and that is it. And I will follow up with you because I know that I have some things that will bring value to you. I want to be there when you need me. So I'll just come meet you real quick. You know, can I drop it off on Tuesday? What do you drink?
Right.
You know, latte. It's like, I kind of joke around with people like that. I'm persistent. They will tell me no over and over and over again. And they can't really say no to that, because let's say if you do show up with their coffee, if they're not there, if they blow you off, you can take a picture at their office with the coffee and send it to them and be like, hey, I'm here. I'm dropping the coffee off. I'm giving it to the secretary. They said you're not here. I'll be back next week. You know, and while you're there, you can meet other agents. And you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm dropping coffee off, but they didn't show up. Who wants this? Who can I bring coffee next week? Right? Just like, have fun with it. Just be okay with the rejection. Most people are going to reject you.
Right.
We're not magical or charismatic enough to get people to say yes every time we call.
Yeah. So, I just want to pause for a second, because that is what you're talking about is so strong, because I'm, my hallucination is that people are saying that's way too pushy. Just hear me out, right? That is, this or that. But one thing I really want to stress to people from the heart is that Audrey and I are both, we were both a part of the same coaching group that were some of the top lenders and top realtors in the country. I mean, these realtors, they did 200-300 transactions a year. They're just, and that is their mentality. Yeah. Right. That is how they think. And I'm sure there's an exception, right? I'm sure there's an exception out there, but the majority of high producing realtors have that same mentality. And if you want to connect with them, I would say that is exactly what you need to do. You need to show them that you're like them. And together, you guys can, do a lot more together. Yeah. Does that make sense? Because I don't think, man, I got to tell you, going back to us, we're going to make someone, it's okay to be aggressive and get what you want, especially if you believe in your heart that you're the best choice. Well, that's the thing. Everybody can call once. There's nothing special about that. There's nothing. Can you take rejection and call twice? Yep. Can you take rejection and call 3 times? Can you take rejection and the 4th time you call and you know that by then they've put you on a block list, right? And you're probably just leaving voicemails. And I'll leave voicemails that just say like, hey, don't feel pressure to pick up. It's my job to be in front of you. And it's my job to make sure that you have my information for when you need it. So don't call me back if you're all good. I will follow up with you next week and just check in. But I'll keep calling you. I know, like, I've literally laughed on voicemails. And I think, Paul, you know this, because I do. For some reason, I'm just so, like, I joke around to myself. I think I'm really funny. You are funny. On voicemails, I'm just like, you might not ever pick up, but I know that when you need this, you're going to have my number. I'll be there. And I'll send you an email with the product that we have going on. And by the way, you guys, I do add these realtors to my email blast. So I do videos, I send them. So they're getting my videos in the meantime. And sometimes they just need to kind of hear about you or see you in a different format too. Because I've had realtors that totally blow off my phone calls. And 4 months later, all of a sudden they'll reply to my video. Like, oh, I have a client for you. I'm like, okay, great. That's it. Like, you just never know when their breaking point is. But I guarantee if you call them out, if you say, hey, I bet your current loan officer isn't calling you every week like this. Like, I'm sure that you can appreciate my persistency right now. Like, this is how I'll be with your clients. I'll make sure your clients are taken care of. So you just kind of do those little drops every week or so that you call them on the voicemail. It's okay. So starting, was it February 10th? Is that the date? We're going to the Bahamas. We're going to start, and whoever wants to join us, we're going to start our 10-week realtor challenge, where every Friday, we chose Friday is because part of the message is if your lender isn't available, we are. Give us a call, right? We're going to implement a 10-week challenge. If you want to join us in calling realtors, we're developing our 10-week items of value. Now, they're a little bit different between myself and Audrey, but it'll give you guys an idea of what you can do to really help them. Because at the end of the day, too, we want to make sure that we we help them build their business. So we have to feel what their pain points are. And
Yeah.
so some of their pain points are affordability with buyers, right?
Yeah.
Old leads and, keeping track of stuff. So it's going to be a really impressive 10 weeks. And I hope you guys join us and make those calls with us, track the results, because if we do it together, someone may be able to do an appointment better than you. And if they're converting more, they can help you. So together we can help each other. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking to the old script. I'm doing it.
And I think that's the thing too, like you can have the perfect script in the world, but once you start getting people on the phone,
that's
you
it.
kind of realize what works and what doesn't. I mean, Paul and I have role played and we think, oh my God, I'm thinking Paul's gonna be so amazed. He can't even resist what I have to say. And then I'll see the look on his face as I'm talking and I'm like, okay, I'm scrapping.
Okay. How about when I said mine, you're like, I absolutely hate that. Don't ever say that again. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to give everybody the gist of what it looks like. Just so let's do a little scripting here. I'm okay with being vulnerable. So I still got to work on that one piece here, right? But let's go for it, right? So Audrey, you're the realtor. Hey, is Audrey there?
This is she.
Audrey, Paul Olbrantz, Clear Close Brokers. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Paul?
Audrey, I'm doing awesome. Hey, thanks for answering. Hey, you have an incredible last 12 months. I just want to introduce myself. Just ask Audrey, what would it take for me to be a part of your lending team?
So I'll pause for a second. As a realtor, I loved that because he already stroked my ego. So he's like, you're amazing. So realtors, I'm telling you that works. Okay.
And I do want to add one thing. I was smiling when I said it here, but if I was off camera, I would be smiling too. Yeah.
You gotta be pumped up.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Paul. Yeah, I had a great year. Yeah. Well, to be a part of my team, to be honest, I already have lenders, but I appreciate the call. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hey, Audrey, you're absolutely amazing. Thank you for taking the time. But hey, here's the thing. You are a top producing realtor. I'm a top producing lender. We think alike. I would love just 15 minutes of your time to see what we can do together in 2023. Give me 15 minutes. I guarantee you I won't waste your time.
Well, I appreciate the offer, but like I said, I'm good. I'm pretty busy.
You're amazing. So, all right.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you something, Audrey, and I'm going to follow up next Friday. If your lender is not available this week, give me a call. Would love to serve you. I probably wouldn't say serve. I would love to help you. Serve sounds so weird.
Yeah, no, I actually like that. Yeah, you know what? That's good. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll let you know if I need something.
Awesome. And then when I hang up, I'm going to send her a really goofy video because I want her to remember who I am and send her an item of value.
Yeah.
Repeat next week. I mean, it's really that simple. And
so, yeah, just even my feedback with that. So when Paul and I role play, I kind of take notes. I make a note as a receiver what I like about what he says and what I don't like. So that's how I do it when we do it. So I liked that you stroked my ego. I didn't like the fact that you said we think alike because my first thought was, how do you know me? But then you won me back with, I'm going to check in and see if you need me this weekend, because that, just like you said, you didn't serve you, but I actually liked that.
Did you really?
Because to me that brings me value. Okay. All right. Like,
that's going back in the script. So I'll rewrite the we think alike. Maybe I don't know, maybe because what I'm trying to get across is like, hey, we work hard just like you.
I like that.
Right? Like, I'm available. Let's do this.
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing, you guys. It's like, you can pull up any scripting, put yourself in the shoes of the person. Like, how would that sound to you? Like, if you have an insurance agent calling you, what would get your attention?
Honestly, for me, I know that, and I'm being vulnerable here. I want to say I'm not ego.
He did so good, Paul. By the way, like, honestly, everybody that's listening, honestly, he did so good. He did so good, and people would probably say yes to that. I always give him a hard time. I always say no.
You always say no.
I always say no.
That's good, though. That's good.
That's how you build role play. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Stacey.
Everybody's clap for Paul, because that's so nerve-wracking. I mean, it's, if you guys have ever, like, in all honesty, everybody gets nervous, right? So you have to practice even just yourself. And I hate the role plays where it's like perfect, when you see professionals and they're role playing and they're just like, oh, great, yes, perfect, I will meet you. And it's like, no, that's not realistic.
Right.
But I can say I did have a coach this was probably 5 years ago, and he put me on the spot, and it was in front of so many people, and we role played, but he let me have the win. And I can tell you that just mentally, that really made a huge difference for me, that he let me have the win in front of a bunch of people, because I was so nervous. And it actually, that gave me the courage to just call people and, get over the fear of it. So give yourself a little win, to start, for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something? Audrey just, not Audrey, you're Audrey. Stacy has said something that, they do say no. One thing I do want to really emphasize, when you're making calls, there's two things that we're not really talking about. The script is truly probably the least important. The two most important is your state. Are you sitting in your chair? Are you making calls like, hey, is Audrey there? Hey, it's Paul Olbrantz, Clear. What do I gotta do before you? Okay, bye. I mean, that's just never gonna fly. And then it's also the story, right? I mean, the story you tell yourself in your head about what's going to happen. Literally, when I call people, I try to connect with them over the phone. I literally try to feel like, just, you know what I mean? Make them, just connect with them. I mean, does that resonate with you at all, Audrey?
No, absolutely. And I think it's tough because there's a fine line where we're talking too long.
Yep.
So you have to just be aware of what their responses are,
right.
And can't talk too long, which I have a tendency to do. So yeah.
So the 10-week challenge is starting. I'll post something in the group if you guys want to join. I'd absolutely love you. We have role-playing sessions. Please come. Let's shift gears just a little bit. Let's talk about asking for referrals from our current realtors that we're working with. So every Monday I do those calls. And you know what I mean? I go through my little checklist on what I'm supposed to, what I want to my perfect conversation. How are you asking for referrals from your existing clients, or excuse me, your existing realtors?
Yeah. So I tee everything up from the very beginning. I'm a big believer that you have to have a process. So let's say if it's an existing realtor that I have, our goal is also to get the listing agents. Let's say it's a purchase and we have a realtor and then you have a listing agent. So I have an introduction that I do when we first get that contract, and I tell them, hey, you give them a little update. Hey, things are going great. Appraisals ordered, everything. Just so you know, I'm going to call you every single Tuesday because it's really important to me to get the feedback, how we're doing, if you need anything. And also, I want to make sure that you know that I'm here. You love our service to help any existing clients that you have too, because I know we're going to blow your socks off. And by the way, there's little marketing things. I actually send socks to both agents with a label that says we're going to knock your socks off. That has got me so much business if you guys have the bandwidth to do that. So again, I'm goofy, I'm funny. I send it out, and I tell them, keep an eye out in the mail. There's a little package I'm sending you, but I'll check in every single Tuesday to give you an update, let you know what's going on, and to check in and see if you have anybody that I can help. I really want to make sure you know that I'm here to support you. So that's what I say. And then every single Tuesday, I'm calling in and giving them an update and just saying, hey, honestly. So I've had my team, I stopped doing this, but I'll tell you what I did before, and I'll tell you why I stopped it, is because it ended up sounding too scripty, and that was the feedback from my team. So I used to have my LP2 call the clients, and then I would call the realtors. So they would actually call and say, hey, from 1 star to 5 stars, how are we doing? The feedback from my team was that sounded too scripted, so I stopped saying that. So when I call the realtors, I'm just literally asking, hey, how do you think we're doing so far? Is there anything that we can do so that at the end of this transaction, my goal is that we're going to work together. We're going to do such an amazing job that you literally have no choice but to send me another client because we did such a great job for you. Anything that I can do between now and then to make sure that we're giving you that 5-star level of service. And most of the time, everybody's like, no, you guys are doing great. So I'm teeing them up for it. You always want to ask, is there anything that I could do to make sure that by the end of this, you're absolutely blown away? Right. So that gives them the opportunity to give any feedback. And sometimes I do get some feedback, right? I had a listing agent tell me that I was calling too late because I called at like 4:30ish. He's like, update soon. You should be calling me in the morning.
That's crazy.
So I made a point to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to promise to call you before noon every single Tuesday. So that way you have that up in the morning. And he and I work together to this day. He was really happy. So it's great when you open yourself up to be vulnerable for the feedback. And regardless if you get good or bad reviews, I still ask for the referrals. Let's say if a transaction goes completely sideways and it sucks, as long as your communication is good and you own it, because we're not all perfect and this is lending, it is so messy. If you own it, I just tell them, hey, look, there's a lot of loan officers that would have run and hide after this. I have been communicative with you the whole way through, and we will fix whatever we need to fix to make sure that everybody's happy. This is probably the best way that you could have learned in this relationship how we work as a lender. We will always make sure you're taken care of. So if you've had lenders that would completely just hide in the shadows, I mean, this is who you want to work with. We will always make sure that everybody's happy no matter what we have to do. So I would love to get the next transaction and show you how it goes when it goes smooth. You know,
hang on, let me slow you down, because you just gave 1,000 pieces of great information that I think people are going over their head. Number one, the listing agent. I just want to recap because it's so the listing agent. No, don't be sorry at all. It's incredible. So you're sending the socks out first. So the socks, so you know, is it the socks with your picture on it? Because I have socks with I have my bald head on. It's hilarious. They're so tacky, right?
I would probably wear those.
Oh, they're hilarious, right?
Bald head socks.
Oh my God. And then I have a template in BombBomb that I send a video to, right? And so so you do that at first, and then you set the expectation. Now, I think this is really important because you gained a realtor's relationship, because most people would assume if you were calling on Tuesday, you were doing a great job. But because you asked, he gave you the feedback that you're calling too late.
Yeah.
And now you called earlier, and so now you work with them. So those are some powerful things, you guys. If you're not calling listing agents and asking questions, and I love it too. The one thing that I'd say the same thing too, because I say stuff like, "Is there anything that we're doing that would prevent us from having coffee?" Right? Just a little twist too, because I want them to think. I want them to criticize my process so I can improve it.
Yeah, I think that's the key. There's so many people out there that don't want to talk about their failures.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've gotten really good at embracing that. It's because that's how, if you think about any relationship that you have, you're going to have fights, you're going to have disagreements, you're going to have the struggles. The people that you get through that with are the people that are really deep in your life, family members, your best friend, like things like that. It's the same thing with our realtor relationships. If you can push through that uncomfortable feeling of like, oh shoot, I screwed up.
Right.
That you push through, you own it, you make up for it. You know, my team made a mistake on one of my top realtors' brother's loan. I immediately, the closing was late. I bought the whole family dinner. I sent them a gift. I called every single day until the closing happened. And I'm still the preferred lender. Like people just want to know that you care and that you're going to get it taken care of. And they forget about the pain after, could have easily just been like, oh my God, we screwed up. I lost that relationship and never called again because I was too shameful. Like I've really learned to get over myself, and things are going to happen, and you just have to be really persistent and love on them. And most of the time it'll be okay. I have lost relationships too.
Sure. I mean, we're going to lose relationships, but I would say 99% of loan officers, when things go bad, duck their head and they're gone.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the time. This is so beautiful, because I think this is the most impactful piece for me so far, is number one, things. I mean, we've been doing loans for a long time. Things do go wrong.
Yeah.
Buyers don't tell us everything. Something comes up that's unforeseen.
Yeah.
And it's how we handle it that separates us from people that, you know what I mean? It's how you handle it. And that was awesome. I mean, calling people and taking ownership of it, not disappearing. I think that's just incredible. I love that.
Yeah. There's those things that haunt me.
That's huge.
I do want to share this. There's this loan that I will never ever forget. My team brought to send out the CD.
Yeah.
I worked so hard to get that realtor. He finally sent me a deal, and we screwed up, and it was just lost forever. I will always, but you know what? I always share that because things are going to happen, you guys, and that's why it's so important.
That's why.
Get comfortable with calling, because you have to constantly replace these relationships. People are going to retire. People are going to change businesses. People are going to get pissed and leave. And so it's so important to get comfortable with asking for business and getting the referrals and building new relationships. Okay. Yeah.
So, that's a great point too. So when I'm calling my existing realtors, okay, so the people I know, one of the ways that I ask for referrals, and you taught me this, is that I go through my checklist of what I call. So usually the perfect conversation for me is, you know, Audrey, you know, how was your weekend, right? And then I try to dig on forward, you know, family, occupation, right? Recreation, dreams. Like for this week, I talked about the 49ers to see what team they love, to see if they even love sports, and write little notes and stuff like that. So it's all good stuff, right? It's a good little bonding.
Yeah.
Then when I go to my reason, I'm usually calling for either pre-approvals, the leads we're working on, or a topic of conversation. And the topic for me was that those changes coming up with Fannie Mae.
Yeah.
But at the end of the conversation, this is what you taught me. It's, Audrey, is there anything I can do to help you this week to make your business easier? I don't know. It was so much, you know what I mean? And then, you know, it really gets them thinking. Do you have any open houses? Do you have any buyers that aren't pre-approved? Do you have any deals that are going south that I can help look at? Is there anything I can do to help you and your business be easier? And they think about it. They go either yes or no. I want to thank you for that, because it's such an easier conversation to have for me than going, hey, Audrey, do you have a referral for me?
Oh, I never say that.
Yeah, I just,
that's, to me, that's the worst thing you could ever say. It's like,
hey, you got something for me?
Yeah, I'm a big believer, and you have to have value. So I can share, if you want, kind of how I prep myself. Again, it's all about preparation. Yeah, for when I'm calling my realtors. So typically on Mondays, you know, I'll call my top 40 realtors or people that I want to do business with. And so again, the preparation, I pick a topic. So the steps that I go through is I want to have something of value that I already have ready to go that I want to tell them about. Because it's the worst thing to just, you know, if you're thinking about, okay, everybody tells you be in relationship with your realtors. Well, they're going to get really sick of you just calling them every Monday just to see how their weekend was. Hey, how was your weekend?
Totally.
Great. You know, you want to be in relationship, but you also want to bring value.
Yep.
So have a topic ready to go, whether it be a loan program that you want to share, a tip for them to get business, you know, anything that's going to bring value to them that they're going to want to pick up your phone call. Because what you'll find is eventually, if they know that you're just calling them to ask for leads or just to see how their weekend was, that call's not important. They're going to stop picking up. And then you're just going to get their voicemail all the time, right? If they feel like there's a conversation worth having, they'll pick up. So have something ready to go. Print out your list, have your list ready to go. And then I kind of think of it as like a box. And one of my past coaches, Oleg, who's like number two, like insane.
Yep.
He taught me this. So he's like, just do a square, just like draw one line down and then one line across. So you have 4 boxes. And so box 1, you want to write leads. So you're calling them for one of these 4 reasons. It's either leads. If you have nothing to say, if you're like, I can't even think of a program right now, I can't think of anything, call them to update them on the leads that they've sent you. Like, hey, let's go back for the last year and say, hey, I'm going to go through every single lead that you've sent me the last year. All the non-response ones, we're calling again. By the way, here's the update on those 3 leads that you sent me last week. Here's where each of them are at. I just want you to know we're on it. Realtors love that. They want to know that they don't have to follow up on the leads, that you're on it. So leads is one thing that is always a default go-to for you to update them on. The second thing is the pre-quals. So anybody that you've already pre-qualified for them, that they're shopping, sometimes you can even call those pre-quals ahead of time just to get the most recent update. And you can ask the pre-quals, hey, are there any questions that you have? Because I'm going to call John Smith, your realtor, right now. Is there anything that I should mention? So you can call that realtor and talk about pre-quals if the clients need anything, just so that that realtor, again, has the most up-to-date information on the pre-quals. And then the third thing is that go-to conversation. So it could be a loan product. It could be an event that you're hosting, inviting them to happy hour. It could be a sales tip, right? Something that you learned that's helping you with your business. Like right now, I'm going through all of my marketing events for 2023. I bet most of my realtors are not doing that. So I'm calling them to say, hey, do you want to join a webinar with me that I'm going to host on going over how to set up your marketing plan, right? So it's always easy to have something ready to go. And then the last thing, so we have leads, pre-quals, the go-to conversation, and then the last thing is face-to-face. Ask them, invite them, hey, let's do coffee this week. I have something to show you, something that's working for some of my other realtors. Let's go to lunch. Let's go to happy hour, like get them face-to-face with, you know, an invitation. Even if you're not hosting a big event, I know that can be intimidating.
Sure.
So if you invite them to treat them to lunch or coffee or those things, you're getting that face-to-face time with you and developing that relationship. So those are the 4 things: leads, pre-quals, your go-to conversation, and then ask face-to-face.
I love the marketing idea. I just wrote that down, put a big circle about it over it. That's
Yeah.
incredible, because they don't, or most don't.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so now how do you ask for the referral? For, you know what I mean? In a way, I know you don't, but like, how do you ask for some type of business?
From the existing realtors that I have.
Yep. So you go through that conversation, you give them an update on the pre-approval or whatever, right? It's great conversation. What do you say?
So I'm trying to think of what I usually say. Most of my realtors, I'm in pretty deep relationships, so we have ongoing conversations, but some of the things that I have done or that I would do, I guess I would say, is again, just kind of bringing that value. So I would want to give them something first before I ask for it. So I wouldn't ever just want to call and ask for leads. So I would say, obviously the value that I would give, let's just use the marketing thing for an example. Let's just told them, oh, I'll use an example that I gave last week, actually. See, I do this stuff and don't even think about it. So I have listing presentations from a few top realtors that I got through my coaching company. And I've been calling my realtors and I've been asking them, hey, while it's slow, I want all of my realtors to revamp your listing presentations and revamp your buyer presentations. I actually have examples of these listing presentations from these top producing realtors that close like 25 to 50 deals a month. Would that be valuable for you? If I sent that to you, you can take a look at it. We can go over it. I can even help you update yours if you need help with marketing, which that stuff I do on Canva. Canva is amazing, so it doesn't take that much work. And of course, they're like, oh my gosh, that was so awesome. I'm like, great. So this is definitely going to help you get more clients, help more listings. Now on these listing presentations, do you have any listings coming up? And I had one realtor that had 3. They're with Keller Williams. They're doing like a 72 sold. So I said, how about we do this? Let me know when your appointments are prepping for those listing presentations, and I can do the pre-qual. I can do some mock-up numbers for you, because that seller's got to go somewhere. So they're going to sell their house to buy somewhere. So I said, this will really help you get that listing dialed in, because they're going to be able to see what they can afford. So you're not going to run into that conversation of, oh, I'll sell my house, or I don't know what I can afford, so I don't want to list it right now. So I kind of inserted myself to do a pre-qual for their listing presentation.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was great. And it's super cool for them. They need anything they can get to have that listing signed. So if they show up with numbers where it's like, hey, if you sell this house for this much and you can go buy a house for this much, it's just really helpful.
It's so funny you say that. I mean, I love these conversations. It's because I have realtors who go, oh yeah, I just do all listings. And you're right. I mean, they have to go somewhere. So what a great way to go, hey, this is what I have for you. And then planting the seed, right? Where are they going to go buy? I'm your guy, or I'm your girl. That's awesome. That's really good.
Looking out for opportunities, because I think, we help buyers so much, but we can also help on the listing side. And every single realtor is going for listings. So you have to be aggressive and remind them, hey, I can help with listings too. Like, loop me in. They're buying somewhere.
So that's kind of the magic formula. So like you give, then you plant a seed, or you ask, right? So like, for example, we had this one program came out. That's an easy buy down program. It's called Easy Start Program. And what it did was meant to make a home affordable for realtors for buyers. And so the conversation was like, hey, we have this great program. It's going to make it's going to make buyers, it's going to make, it's going to make home affordable. I don't know why I'm stuttering right now. I have no idea what's going on over here.
I do all the time. I couldn't even say.
And so, we talk about it. I educate on how it works. They get excited. Then I plant the seed. Hey, do you have any buyers out there that are waiting for rates to go down, that they could take advantage of this program? And then, when you do it right, when they stop and really think, they go, I do. Because what I'm doing there is I'm making them more excited to go out there and reach out to somebody, add value. And now I have a program that fixed a problem they were having. There's a referral right there.
I think as loan officers, we have to do everything. You guys can't count on realtors to, let's say if you're sending a blast out on a loan program,
the
odds of a realtor seeing a lender's marketing and knowing how to apply it. For one, let's say if you're sending out, loan limits have changed, right? 2023 loan limits. They're like, great, loan limits have changed. And then that's where it sits.
Yeah.
You have to say, here's how this impacts you.
Yeah.
This would take, here's what the old loan limit was. So somebody put 5% down, it would get them to $1,027,000 in Santa Clara County.
Right.
Now, the loan limits have increased. Now they can buy a 1.150 conforming. So if you have any buyers out there that are stuck with 5% down,
right,
now they can get a 1.150 purchase price. Here's my video. You have to tell them what to do. Take my video, forward this video, post it on your social media, send it to all your buyers. Like, you have to break it down so easy, because they just need that. They're not going to know what to do with the information or how to apply it. Let's say if we have the DSCR program, right? For one, a lot of lenders don't even know what that is.
Yep.
They're just talking about it.
There's like, I got this program. Yeah.
You can buy it, no income, rents cover it. Yeah. So you're sending out like DSCR program. Realtors look at that and they're like, I have no idea what that is. I don't even know how to market it. Well, okay, cool. You do these loans. Great. So it's like, you have to do the marketing for them. You have to give them the ideas. You have to give the example, like, hey, there's an investor that makes really, really good money, but writes everything off. So he has deposits in his bank every single month, but he doesn't show that income on his taxes. He wants to buy an investment property. Can he do this or can he not? Yes, with the DSCR program, he can. They don't even look at income. As long as the rents cover the mortgage, you can do it. So it's like giving them that real life example.
That's huge.
That's
huge, because it's that kind of goes back to, we had this gentleman named Major last week, and he was talking about how he gets on the phone, he really makes sure he walks people through it. And you're just really reaffirming that, where you walk through it, you give them examples.
Yeah.
And then you tell them how to go get business from it. I mean, that's huge.
I think another easy one is if you call all your realtors on Fridays that you're trying to get business with, just like Paul said earlier, it's the simplest call ever. You're just letting them know, hey, I'm working this weekend.
Just like
Feel
you.
free to call me. I'm going to keep an eye out for your phone call in case you need me. Are you hosting any open houses this weekend, or are you working this weekend? And the ones that say yes, make a note to call them during their open house. Hey, I remember you said you had an open house. I just wanted to check in with you. If there's anybody that wants to write a quick offer, just know that I'm here to do a pre-approval for you on the weekend. And then call them Monday as well. Hey, I just wanted to follow up. How did the open house go? Did you guys, how many people did you have walking in? Is there anybody that left their information? Do you want me to call them for you? I can call them and just follow up and see if they're interested, offer to do a pre-approval for them. Agents love that. It's just giving value, servicing them. And again, it's an easy phone call because you're just calling to help them, but you're going to benefit from it too. You're not just calling, hey, how was your weekend? Did you get any leads over the weekend?
Yeah, totally. Someone in the group called it commission breath. And I love that. I love that statement.
Commission breath?
You don't want to be that guy that has commission breath. I can't get it out of my head. When he wrote that, I kind of laughed. I'm like, wow, that's tight. God, we only have like a minute left, and I have like 10 other things I want to cover with you, but it's not going to happen. Is there anything that maybe you have so many superpowers, and the whole goal of this, of these conversations is to showcase how you can help somebody? Is there something that we didn't talk about that you'd want to say? I know that doesn't make sense, but maybe it does. I'm just going to let it out there and be vulnerable a little bit.
Yeah, just as far as like scripting and asking for the business. I would say number one, just to recap, like get yourself a role play partner. I think that, even just Paul and I, who we've been in the business forever, having the vulnerability to role play with somebody will really help sharpen your skills. I know it's definitely helped me. And we all saw how amazing Paul did, even though I said no. He was just like, boom, super good. And just not being afraid of rejection. Rejection is a part of our careers. It's just going to happen. So you can't let that get you down. You just have to roll on to the next one, for somebody to say yes. I would just say, get your list ready to go and jump on social media, see if you have any contacts with them, like get that stuff out of the way so that way, when you're getting ready to call these people on Mondays, it doesn't take you 5 hours because you're looking up social media right then and there, and then psyching yourself up to call them. Like, do all that stuff on the weekend, get all the research out of the way so that, come Monday, you're in a flow, because I think the flow is really important. If you try to break it up, if you're like, okay, I'll call one person every day, or, it's like you want to set aside at least an hour or two, because once you're in the flow and you're not nervous anymore, you're just like, boom, 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 you're on. And it's, so I think the timing and the mental preparation is just super important.
Oh, it's totally important.
Mhm.
And even when you get there to making the calls, where your state is at, you were talking about your song. Did we talk about that before or after? I can't remember when we talked about that.
Yeah, I don't think we have.
Right. But it's, what I mean? I have just, what's that?
Oh, I was just going to say, my team would laugh at me so much. I had what do you call the bouncing, the little trampoline? I had a little trampoline in there. I had like my stretch band. I was just like, I would get down and do like burpees real quick. I'd be like, okay, I'm ready.
I mean,
what do you need to do to get ready?
That sounds silly, but think of this, right? So think of this, right? Is that when we play sports, when we go into a let's say basketball, right? When the whistle starts, right? I mean, you are all in focused, right? But it took a while to get to that preparation, right? There's a different mindset when you're playing basketball than when you're saying watching TV with your family. They're not the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So the illusion or the example is, let's say, for example, if we were to say to use the basketball illustration on how some people make cold calls, right? The whistle blows, everyone starts playing, they kind of start stretching a little bit. Maybe they go to the bathroom and like everyone's looking and going, what the hell's going on? What's this guy doing, right?
Yeah.
You have to be mentally prepared. And once that whistle blows, you have to become a different person and just start adding value. That's I'm rambling now. There it is.
Yeah, I'm basically like a toddler that I will throw fits and procrastinate and do everything that I'm not supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. But at the most random times, of course, when I have a client appointment or a realtor appointment, that's when I want to start cold calling. So it is a constant discipline. I don't think there's any magic. I know there's a lot of people out there that they're like, I'm so disciplined. I just, whatever is on my calendar, I do it. I'm not one of those people. It's a constant battle for me to get in the mindset. To do it, but you do it. So
for those of you that join us on our 10-week challenge, I'd be happy to do some live calls for you. Right. I've done that in the past. I have no problem doing it. I feel a little weird because of, the privacy on the other side. I just feel very uncomfortable on that. But I'd be willing to help you guys and do it live. So you can see the first call I did live, Audrey, then we'll end this, is Danielle set this up where I had 300 people watching. I was really nervous, actually.
That would be horrifying.
It was a little bit. So all these Zoom faces, everyone's looking at me. And the first guy looks out, he answers the phone and he says, don't ever effing call me again, and click. And I went, oh my God. And I kind of looked at the screen, everyone's face was like, and I'm all, well,
There's proof that this is not scripted.
Yeah, there it is. Right. I mean, let's move on. And, from that series, I actually booked, I think, 1 or 2 appointments. And one guy that I booked an appointment with, he connected me with the head of his of the real estate company. And I've gotten some business from that. So it works.
Cool.
You just got to do it.
Yeah. And I think I'll share one too. I called this producer. And again, didn't say anything special. I literally just said, hey, I'm Audrey. I'm a loan officer. I saw you're on the top 250 producers list. Congratulations. That's amazing. I would love to take you to coffee next week. She's like, okay. I was like,
you're like, what?
I was like, oh, okay. How about next Tuesday at 3? It's like, sometimes the easy ones come. You take them, you run with it.
We might as well keep building on this one too, because I had a lady I did not want to call. In fact, we had many bad, I was like over her. I'm like, no, I'm going to call her. And I called her and I caught her at that moment. She's all, come in my office. You can speak to my team. During the team meeting, I swear to God, they were like, stop. And he called in a client. This is a true story. Next thing you know, I'm pre-approving somebody. A day later, they're putting an offer in. I kid you not. It happens.
So funny. Yeah.
All right. So so someone asked about the 10-week challenge. Pete, we're just going to put some stuff in the group. It's just going to be a Zoom thing. We'll get it, we'll get you guys dialed in. But really what I'd love to see is everybody on there making calls, smiling faces in the great state. because I tell you right now, business is picking up and it's time.
Yeah, we will do it. Thanks for setting such a great example, Paul. This is awesome. And it's
Thank
it's
you,
great that you're
Audrey,
sharing it.
and
You
have
guys are so
fun.
lucky to have Paul. I wish there was somebody doing this when I started.
I know.
Yeah.
But have fun in the Bahamas.
I will.
Top producer. That's pretty amazing. That is amazing. You are amazing.
Thank you.
And you know what? We didn't hit on your superpower. Your superpower is how loyal your clients are to you. I swear.
Oh, yeah.
That is so amazing. We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Have
Cool.
fun.